Okay, no, everyone can hear you.
Did they hear
That's
me
what you
say come
say.
into the meeting?
That's what you say.
I'm gonna go run around and actually tell people to get in here. How about that?
Put it out over the PA system.
We don't have a PA system here.
I know.
You do on the phones.
We don't.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh, at the old office, not here. No, we don't.
You don't sound like a married couple.
Carlos, here.
Oh, honey.
Were you?
I'm.
Picture this and somebody's trying to at a party.
Weird.
How'd you? Oh, you're way off. Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
No.
Oh.
Oh, we're the only ones. Been fun. Oh. Anytime. Things going all right.
Yeah.
Ready? Right, we can go get it started while he's writing. Yeah.
I mean,
You don't mind if I start while you're writing up here again?
Oh, we have to start with some wins, though.
Yeah,
I mean, a bucket belt.
win. Do something good.
Oh, let me turn it. Sorry.
I actually have a question real quick. I just need to start active with.
All right, we're starting the meeting. Let's go.
There we go.
Who has a bucket bill?
I'll bucket fill whoever threw all the candy on the table. It's just lovely.
Nice, candy, lovely,
Condos are.
good.
Bucket
That's-
fill.
Yeah, the plus for price will higher. I think, right? The 18th.
You're welcome.
That's really good.
I'm super grateful for all the people in this office that share what they know and what they're doing
That's a cool building. Yeah.
so freely as we're kind of trying to
That's really
reestablish some standards and some for our team. Everybody's been really great and I'm really great for that cooperative spirit here.
I'll bucket fill, well, I was called, let me host one of his open houses, this week in Robbinsdale, and it's really good turnout, so thanks, Paul. I resigned, so.
Nice.
Oh, sorry, I'm eating candy.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm like 50% of the people in here, I haven't asked for help in figuring out the holiday party stuff, because I really didn't know what to expect. So thank you guys, you and very helpful to know what I will be doing.
And that's the one that the agents post and bring their clients to, and awesome.
I just have a question. Who is all doing that? That's in this group?
And then the exceptional home team from, and maybe even a couple others.
That,
And
that was
Bethany
a-
Nelson's team is, oh, Bethany Nelson's team, awesome.
Yep.
Awesome, awesome. So lots of people. That's great.
That's what's good. Raise your hand.
I did. We're all
Represented.
Yeah.
Here we,
So I did post this yesterday on Facebook, and more information will be coming out, but we are gonna host CommandCon here next Wednesday. So it is something that international and team is putting on. There's gonna be like, or sorry, not international, but Keller Williams, like the larger national team is putting on. So there's gonna be a lot of good information, how agents are using CommandCon as solo agents, teams, mega agents. Probably learn some tips and tricks. And when it comes to kind of Wendy's point about how everyone's really collaborative and share their information, this will be a great time to come and just hear from how other people are using it and maybe learn some stuff. It's like, oh, I could totally implement that. It's also a good time to see like who is doing stuff, because then you can always reach out in the future too and say, I saw you did this. And see what goes from there. But that is going to be from 10 to 2 o'clock next Wednesday. We're going to host it here. We're going to have lunch. We'll not be having our regular team meeting then. So the award meeting will be the following. But we will be streaming this live then from 10 to 2 next Wednesday. So hope you guys can be here. I think there'll be a lot of really good speakers as it comes out, as people are slotted into time. I'll put that information out too, hopefully. So if there's one where you're like, oh, I really want to make sure I go see this agent because it really speaks to my business. Hopefully they'll start sending out more information on when those individuals will be talking specifically, so we can get that information.
Are we signing up for anything or?
if you guys haven't used Command in a while, give it a try. They've had tons of updates, lots of changes on it over the years. You can run your entire business with Command. So, I mean, this is you're really gonna learn a lot of stuff from this. So if you have not dived into Command yet, come in, and this could really change things for you.
I was just on a call yesterday too, and they are still, tweaking it and making it better based on agent feedback. So if you do get in there and you're using it and you're like, man, this would also be really helpful. Just somebody on the call was like, can you do this? And she was like, oh, that's such a good idea. Let's see about doing that. But they're constantly trying to make it better and more user-friendly for what for. So if you get in there and you're like, man, this would be super helpful if I didn't have to do these 3 steps and I could just do 1 step. They're open to that feedback too. So get in there, start using it. Let them know what you like, what you don't like. So it's a work in progress still, I think.
The difference is I used to get up and say, hey, try out Command, let's get in and see if we can make it work. And we knew it's not working and we're just giving them a whole bunch of information, right? The difference now is it's working, it's great. And now we're taking something from good to great, right? That's the stage that we're in right now is, hey, more specific, I'd like it to do this. Fantastic. We have all this other stuff worked out. Now we can do that. It's not coming to you and saying, hey, let's build this thing together anymore.
And you can do everything you need for your business, your flyers, your marketing, your database, your smart plans, your tasks. I mean, everything is in there, your opportunities for knowing your numbers, all there.
Next Wednesday. Next Friday, in celebration of Veterans Day and those who have served their families, we will be closed. We'll also be closed on Friday. And thank you to all of you who have served or have a family member who have served. Also, just plug in this again, make sure it's on your calendar, put it in, take your phone out, put it in. December 7th, it will be our holiday party. And it will be from 6 to 8, right, Heather? 6 to 8, December 7th, okay?
Okay.
violation yet. Yes, it's at Birches.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, Burgess is fine.
All right.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
A moment? Seriously? A moment?
A moment.
In a minute.
I can't talk that fast in a moment. I've got a case study for you this morning and this thing to see what kind of feedback you've got. All right, there's a buyer who's on the internet, found a listing online, starts scrolling through the photos as they all do. And she came across a listing. And as she started looking at the house's photos, noticed that there were a number of rooms and photos that had Confederate flag. Flag. Now, you may have different reactions to a Confederate flag or any other symbol. But this lady happened to have been offended by it, and she filed an ethics complaint against the listing broker, citing that the Confederate flag is a symbol of racial exclusion, and that the listing broker's display of the photos conveyed a preference and discrimination based on race. The listing broker's defense was, I'm not responsible for what a seller displays or has in their house. No, not my responsibility. And she just countered back and said, I feel threatened that I would not feel safe buying or living in that house or that neighborhood. We have a potential violation of, I'll give you the code. It's Article 10. Do we have a potential violation of Article 10, specifically 10-3 and 10-5? Probably saying, okay, Jim, what is Article 10? Well, Article 10-3 says realtors shall not print, display, or circulate any statement or advertisement with respect to selling or renting of a property that indicates any preference, limitation, or discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, national origin, sexual orientation, or gender identity. Oh. But you guys in the seat of the hearing panel, you've heard both sides. The broker said, not my responsibility. Buyer, potential buyer saying, well, I'm offended and I feel threatened and I don't feel safe. Is there a violation? I see yes.
It really does. I mean, you could say, you have a picture of a family. Well, that's in it. I mean, I'm not saying it's wise to do, to post it. But from a legal standpoint, you could say a picture of a family does the same thing. You could say a picture of an animal that's on the wall. There's people who have problems with killing animals. I mean, it is whoever has the smartest lawyer that will win it. You may choose not to post it because it's kind of just causing trouble.
Cases are one on small technicalities.
Yeah.
However, you're a hearing committee of the Association of Realtors. So I saw a couple of heads nodding that yes, there is a violation. And yes, the hearing committee found the listing broker in violation of Articles 10-3 and 10-5, which basically say the same thing. The hearing panel discussed whether the display of the flag indicated an illegal preference or discrimination. But using the standard, this is kind of within the realm of the legal world, using the standard of whether a reasonable person would think display of the Confederate flag conveyed a discriminatory preference. The hearing panel determined that the listing broker's inclusion, intentional or not, of these photos, including the Confederate flag, could be reasonably construed as indicating a racial preference or illegal discrimination based on a protected class. Therefore, that broker was found in violation. Now, the point I want to make is, yeah, there'll be all sorts of stuff on the wall. Some people may be offended by the animal head on the wall and somebody's trophy from hunting. The point here is whether it's going to be a discriminatory item. And in this case, the hearing panel found that yes, there is some very strong potential discrimination against one of the 7 tests. So we do, as brokers and as listing agents, have a real duty to our clients and to the general public to help sanitize our listings. I hate that word, but to make it as neutral as possible. Think of it when you go to sell a car. What do? You wash it, you wax it, you vacuum it out, throw out all the empty beer cans. You have it looking real in great shape. So the same thing with our listing houses. Yeah, just get it all spiffed up, and if in doubt, any questions?
Fine then, or just slap on the hand, or?
Yeah, we don't know based on these cases. Every case, because I've been serving on the Professional Standards Committee for the state, probably 9 years now. Every case is different. And every fine is different. Sometimes it's just a letter of reprimand, put it into somebody's file. We also find somebody $2,500 one time. It's rather egregious. I mean, she should have known better, and she needed to be knocked up the side of the head, get her attention, do not do that again. So it all varies from case to case, and that's why these things are never really like court of law. Don't have precedence. Thank you. Just wash my teeth. All right, good question. Anything else? All right.
Okay, so I'm a stager and I come across this actually more often than you know, including one of the listings from this office within the last month. There were Nazi books all over, Nazi stuff. And so I have to be the tough one and be like, nope, can't do this. Don't do this. We're gonna put it away. And we can't do this. And there's been definitely places where I've gone where it's better stuff. So, and when you're going through the house quick, sometimes you can miss it. Sometimes it's not a glaring flag. In this case, it was bookshelves of Nazi stuff. And when you
We have to be sensitive.
you gotta just be careful. So it happens frequently, and from my point of view, from what I see. Here.
So much for that moment. Yeah, Derek.
Hey, I know we've talked about this many times over the years. Does a murder in a home need to be disclosed?
Good question. If somebody dies in a home, could be natural causes, you're not obligated or required to disclose it. If somebody is murdered, yes, that has to be disclosed, because that could convey the message that it might be an unsafe neighborhood, house, location, whatever. Yes, the law says you have to disclose that. Natural death, no.
How do you just
Which?
murder?
Murder?
How do you agent remarks and the public remarks and the different pieces of paperwork?
What about?
How do you disclose it? That is not. not it. However, now let's put on our practical hats. The neighbors are gonna talk. So maybe just want to mention it so that somebody back to Wendy, why didn't you tell me?
As long as your client says you can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, if your client doesn't say,
You have to.
Are you saying you should on, are you saying you should on the suicide, Jim?
Somebody did die, if they ask.
You'd be doing your seller a you'd be doing your seller a disservice, it'd be my opinion. Like, it's legal that you do. I sold a house this year with that situation. I would be doing my seller a huge disservice by openly disclosing. If it comes up, do I have to be honest? Yes. But if you disclose, I'd say you're doing a huge
That's
disservice.
But I thought that was disclosing the fact, like if you know about it, you have to.
Only if it's murder.
Murder, not suicide.
Suicide or. hospice, death, or anything
Right,
like
right,
that.
right.
I just tell people, assume someone has died in this hospital.
What if you always?
Thank you, Kevin.
What if you have like, what if you have like drug dealers next door? Like, what if you know there's drug dealers next door?
You don't know. We don't
In your house, but I mean, it's not,
Police.
well, yeah, so you just tell them
Nope.
to always check the police report before you buy a house.
I have busted out for.
That's why I brought it back.
Yeah.
Capital
So
offenders.
it's
All right.
so it's up to the buyer to check the police records.
Murder, material fact, suicide, death, not a material fact, don't have to disclose. Get permission from the seller for me, right? That's what we're saying? Good, all right. Ready to get to the nuts and bolts? of this?
Interesting little.
Fantastic, good. What are you experiencing in the market right now? What are the challenges? What are the wins? Go. What conversations are you having that are different, that are the same, that are what? Okay, preparing sellers to be on the market longer than maybe they were. Okay,
Not as many showings.
not as many showings.
Not as many, letting the seller know.
Okay,
Reassuring buyers who think they're going in at a high rate, just think, hey, if they go up higher, you've got a great deal today. If they go down lower, you can refinance and take the issue off the table.
can you imagine right now being that buyer that said, I'm just gonna wait a couple of months till summer's over and it's not as busy? Man, did their thoughts change from what it was gonna be to what it actually is, huh? Okay, what else? What other conversations are you having? And then we're gonna start tackling some of these things.
Like how you can get through the interest rates, how much of a benefit right now it is for buyers, for, getting sellers, closing costs covered, an inspection, negotiating things on the inspection, like there's so much things happening right now that weren't happening earlier.
Okay, so having a different conversation with potential buyers than we had before, right? Understanding where we're at in the market now. What are some of the challenges of that, right? Yeah, interest rates are higher. What are some of the advantages? Maybe home prices are lower, your competition lower. Good. We're gonna explore that one specifically with a scenario that we want to be able to, I want all of us to be able to do quickly, because I think it's gonna bring something to our clients right away of, hey, I'm just gonna wait till spring. I'm gonna wait till whatever. Well, let's future and look at some of that other kind of stuff. Scott.
Where someone was coming in from out of the country.
Yep.
Coming in from England, your exchange rate is terrible right now. And so that's really costly to any international buyer. Well, we suggested that in today's market, you may be able to put less down on your house, and then you get a loan that can be recast. And then when the exchange rate's more favorable, you recast the loan, which then allows you to put more, what you intended, the 20% in. And now you've got it at a much better exchange rate, so you're not losing money on the exchange rate.
So what is gas?
So you have, right on loan, when you, no, it's not refi. So you've got a mortgage, let's say it's a 30-year mortgage and your finance at 7% and you put 20% down. Well, or maybe you put 3% down, so you're paying insurance on it, right? Well, recasting allows me to drop my cash now in at a later date. And then I can build up my equity in the property. So now I have my 20% in the property. And then you pay about $300 to $400 to the mortgage company. Then they will look at that rate, the balance, same terms. You're saying, maybe you have 28 years remaining on your loan. They look at your equity into it, they divide it over the remaining 28 years, you get payment structure. And so it allows you to get rid of your mortgage insurance. And it doesn't extend your term, so you're not starting over at 30 years, you're still locked in at your interest rate. Allows you to take advantage of delaying if you don't have the cash in hand, it allows you to kind of get around that. It allows you to pay your exchange rate.
Not every lender allows that. So you need to check with your lenders you're working with to see if they have a recasting program, which is a huge tool for your client. Especially if you have a client that has some cash, the market's down, they don't want to pull that money out now. They want to sit on that and watch it maybe come back. That's a next level conversation you can have with your clients when you're discussing that opportunity.
Is there a timeline on that too, or is it lender specific? You can only do it in the first years or something, or is it anytime?
As far as I know, there's no time limit. And if you ask your lender up front, it'll give them direction on where they may get the funding, like who the investors are gonna be for it. Like,
Don't want to know.
yeah, and it has to be done up front. They'll pick a certain product. Allows it to
Today, we're talking in the shift book, chapters 9, 10, and 11, and one of them, it really has to do with some strategy around financing and different pieces. And Matt and I did a transaction earlier this summer, and he referred someone to a lender he uses for his new builds. And Kevin is his name. And since Kevin worked with my clients, he's been sending me these emails with updates and how to do different things. I have a lender I worked with for a long time, and I haven't been getting that. And one of the things right now I think is really important for us to do, and I know that I'm doing, is reevaluating my lender's knowledge, position, and ability to do things for my client, right? I don't need someone that now can just approve them and get them in a house. I need to go, hey, I have questions about assumable mortgages. How do we make that happen? I want to recast a loan. How do we make that happen? And that's one of the things that I think in this time, more as buyers' interest rates go up, all these different things. There is a difference between a good lender, maybe that's quick, is one of the things you need at some point, and a good lender that's thorough and knowledgeable at another point. So I would just encourage you, in the same way I'm going to be, is look at your lender relationships right now and see what value they're bringing you and your client. That's, for me, speed was a big deal in the past market. I'm not so sure that speed is the most important deal in this market. So that's one of the things that I'm looking at. What conversations are you having with sellers right now?
Get a sense of value there. Based on the market that was. They don't have a picture of that.
Okay. So the news, they're not watching the news. The news hasn't scared them yet to say, hey, things have changed in the housing market. Is that what you're saying?
To get what their neighbor did too.
Right. And that's, so how are you handling that? You're on a listing appointment. It's time to talk about the price that we're going to list your home at. What are you guys doing? Maddie? Okay, Penny Act isn't closed. Okay. Derek?
Shortened up the timeline as far as how far back I'm going on the close. And I mean, ultimately, we ended up talking about it, and I mean, I was willing to try it out. And it made sense. It ended up selling because there wasn't inventory, like other options for people to choose.
So you mean you ended up, when you said you were trying it out, what does that mean?
Trying out the price that the seller wanted to ask, and that the previous comps had shown was possible and justified.
And it's sold. So that's what you're saying.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a good agent. Okay.
At the end of the day, it's their decision.
Right. Well, it's their
we
decision to
need
work
to-
with you and your decision to work with them, right? And in a spot, there's a script that says today, at the end of our conversation today, you're gonna make the decision if you wanna work with me, and I'm gonna make the decision if I wanna work with you. And they say, well, what does that mean, right? Well, we haven't been trained in that spot for a little while, and we're not used to having that conversation. But one of the challenging things to do is take a listing that you know is not gonna sell. And that changes your motivation on it, you start spending money on it, so it costs, become a cost loss piece. All those different things, but to have a conversation of, hey, Derek, I like what you said. And there's a script on there too that we can talk about, hey, this, you know, I shared with you where I think we should list your home at today. Can we do this? Let's go ahead and list your home at your price for 2 weeks, but after 2 weeks, can we at least have this conversation again? Or you could say, hey, after 2 weeks, can we make an agreement that we're gonna lower your home by 10, 15%? Or get it to my original price? My concern is, at that point, it might even be lower, right? So working through the, hey, we gotta have these conversations on pricing and make sure people understand them. What's the average price in the market right now? I think you're wrong. Why don't we know? Which market? West Metro. What's the price in the West Metro? The 436?
436?
I just watched David Arbit thing about 2 days ago. so
Good.
it's
He's
just,
the
yeah,
person to watch. What is it?
436. West
436.
Metro.
Do you guys see this? All right. Here's a conversation I think we need to be having with buyers and sellers right now. Sellers say to you, you know what? I want to wait to sell my home until spring. Jelena's ready for this. Stand up, Jelena. Let's hear it.
You know, Kevin, all of the economic indicators that we watch on a daily basis show us that days on market, price reductions, inventory in the market show us that likely your home's value will be 10% less spring. You want to wait until spring when there's more inventory and your house is worth potentially less, or do you want to do it now and look at something like that? Maybe the end needs more finesse.
Like it?
Good.
Do you think it's true?
No.
Do you think it's true?
It's true.
I think we're starting to look at days on market has gotten longer. Price reductions have been happening more. We're seeing more expireds. All indicators are showing us that home values are probably going to be 5 to 10% less in the spring than they are right? If you didn't hear from Gary Keller, 2022 we will sell this. There will be the biggest decrease in home sales year over year in history. Maybe number 2, but this will be their biggest one. 22 over 21 have our biggest decrease in home sales in that year. So likelihood is the market is doing some weird things, right? If you were to guess, and one of the scripts we can't determine what's ahead, right? If I knew what the future market was going to be, I wouldn't be working anymore, right? That's just, we're all in that same reality. I remember being in 2021, and I think I stood up here and said, hey, if interest rates get to 5%, things are going to get tricky, right? And that's kind of where we thought maybe we'll get close to at the end of the year. And what are we at today? 7. Yesterday was 7 spot on. Today's still 7. Okay. So things what were we at 6 months ago? 6 months ago?
No, 5, 4.
3 something.
Not 6 months ago. That's longer ago.
6.
That's longer ago than you think.
Back in
What?
February.
Yeah, this spring.
In spring.
Yeah,
we're
summer
up
we
at
were
4 or
already
5.
keeping pretty good.
6 months ago is what? Is that April?
Yeah, maybe.
Right? We were 3.5. Right? We doubled in 6 months. That's a big deal, right? Especially if you're working with buyers that were pre-approved at that rate, and now they want to go buy a home, and they say, I can't buy a home right now. Are you kidding? So here's one of the scenarios I want us to work on, and I think we should all be able to do this scenario, all right? So take out a piece of pen, take out a piece of paper. We're gonna actually practice these things so that we have a skill. Remember, this is a skill market. We have a skill that we can share as we're sitting at the consultation with our clients. And they go, well, is now an okay time to buy? Would I buy right now? I understand I could sell my house. It used to be, I could sell my house, but there's no place for me to go. Now it's, I could sell my house, but my interest rate is 4%. And why would I go to a 7% one, right? So here's the deal. The first one we're gonna look at buy now in our current environment. We already said that the average home price is $436, right? And what did we say today's rate is? 7. By the way, who has the script book? Anyone have a script book? Pass script books out. Sorry, shift book, not script book. Who has a shift book? I passed these out before. This is on page 189. If you don't have one, seriously, I'll give you one. That's how much value I think is in this book. So this is on page 189 if you want to review and figure all this stuff out. The first box that we know is our home price. Okay. The next one is our interest rate. What do you guys think this last one's going to be? Starts with a P. Payment. What's most important to buyers usually when they're going to go buy a home? Payment. Right? Do you guys see, by the way, last month, I think it was, now I might be a month behind, so it might have been, we just got our, it might have been September. 45% of new purchases were first-time home buyers. See that? What's really, I mean, think about that. What are first-time home buyers doing until they pay for their own mortgage? They're renting. And when they think about the rent, what do you think they're thinking already? It's too high. And what do you think? They're thinking in payment, right? This is where buyers are all the time. What is my payment? All right. So Derek's going to help us with the first one, but we can figure this out. All right. On your phone, because you're realtors, you probably have a calculator. In fact, because you're other realtors, you might have a mortgage calculator. How many of you have a mortgage calculator on your phone? Derek, which mortgage calculator do you use?
Loan calc?
Okay, do you like it?
Yeah.
Perfect. Who uses something different? Okay, you use one from your lender. What's it called? Supreme Lending. Do you like the calculator? Great. Who else has a calculator? Good. What do you use? One from your lender. What is it? Who's your lender? Shout out the company. Who is it? From what company? Onway Mortgage. Lending. They give you a mortgage calculator right there. You like it? Good. How many of you have a mortgage calculator from your lender? Okay. How many don't have a mortgage calculator right now? Okay, just because yours is in your head.
There's one on HomeSpotter too. That's all I got.
Right?
You use that equation that they taught us back in the class, don't you?
Payment factor, maybe. And it's also hard because there's so many different factors on what people's rates are gonna be based on their credit scores, and their, you know, how much their down payment is, because based on that, what that affects their mortgage insurance and all that. So again, have a good lender where you just say, hey, call, and they get to them within 5 minutes. That's right.
So here's what I'm gonna say. It kind of goes on the second part. If you're in a spot where you're figuring this out and you're like, no one's talking to me about this, evaluate your lender. Right now, if you're not having conversations with your lender, evaluate your lender, because something's going on. Their worlds are changing, right? And they should be reaching out to you saying, hey, here's the time that I can bring you value in this conversation. Just tell the person, go right to me, right? That could be one of the spots. Whatever that might be, evaluate your lenders right now, okay? Jake used to say to me all the time, and I'm going to say it to Matt, for this conversation, we're going to stay out of the weeds, right? Because it gets way more complex on this. This is just a high level conversation. All right. So at today's home price of $436, and an interest rate of 7%, what is our monthly payment?
With 20% down, it's 2320.58.
320.58. All right. So did you guys hear one of the things we're just going to assume? So we all calculate the same. We're going to assume 20% down. Okay, that's your principal interest, right?
Correct.
No, so we're going to assume 20% down, just your principal and interest. All right. Let's create a scenario for spring. What do you think is going to happen in spring? We talked about one possible right now. Someone just give me a scenario.
This will be 5 to 10%.
Okay, we got to pick one. Let's do 10%. Okay, so what's 436 minus 10%? Decrease by 10%.
392.4.
3924. Okay. Doesn't look right, but I know where I just put you're in the wrong spot. 392,400. There we go. All right, is that right? Let's assume an interest rate. 8%. Okay. Someone calculate on your awesome calculator. Assuming again 20%. Not you yet, Derek. I include Derek in, and I said, hey, I want your help and involvement on this, but I don't want you to answer too quickly. So someone else has to answer.
2303.40.
Is that what everyone has?
Yes.
2303.
Yep.
43. Okay. Good. Is that scenario possible?
Yes.
Okay. What's another scenario?
I would actually put the 20% down. I would do it like for first home buyers, most don't have 20% put down. I mean, I would actually look at the figures. It's less percent down.
Gotcha. And that's where this happens, right? It's great. What's my PMI going to be? Right. But I can understand that is, hey, I don't have to put 20% down. I'm putting 5%. Right.
For the sake of our conversation though, or the conversation that you have with a client, treating it like it's in a vacuum without all of the other factors, and with hazard insurance and taxes, those are irrelevant because they're going to be whatever they are, no matter what it is.
They
And
flow along.
like with down payment and PMI and stuff too, like those things could affect it. But for the sake of showing the comparison and actually trying to get them over the hump of doing it now, I would just do it with a 20%. Just try to keep it simple. Or if you know for a fact that they're only putting down 5%, then just run it with that. But assume that there's probably, I don't know, $200 in PMI or something like that, on like across the board, because if it's 200 now, it's probably 200 6 months. Because I'm a lender.
Asking for my friend and my kid's friend, whatever.
Who's done something like this before? Derek, and why did you do it, Derek?
Motivation, like trying to just show or trying to like quantify whatever the actual difference is, because people are always talking about like, well, gosh, something's supposed to change, and what if it changes? And the reality is that at any point in time there could be something that's holding you back, and I mean, it may or may not be beneficial. So,
You want to run another scenario? We gotta keep the 20% and we can do another one. Yeah, run another scenario. What's another possibility?
Rates go to 6.
It's not gonna happen.
Is that a possibility?
Sure. You just said rates stay flat. Like what if Fed pulls reins back? I think more realistic that it stays flat, but prices drop. How much would you actually save your payment?
Because I'd love to say, hey, you know what, because if I'm showing this, they go, well, rates could go down, I can say, you bet they could. And in that case, you would be better to wait. Challenges, we don't know what that is. And so the risk that you have is you're gonna move to a spot where you're going to actually miss the market you did the first time, right? We all could nail the market, wouldn't that be great? Right? Okay, so we're going 7%. Home prices go down to, right? By the way, is this pretty likely? This is likely too, right? I don't, sometimes I heard people say, well, like get to a double digit interest rates. I can't predict the future, but I feel almost sometimes like that's a scare tactic. But if you look and go, okay, let's just say home prices are going to go down as rates are higher than they've been. People are uncomfortable. Inventory is growing. Days on market's growing, which means we're seeing when that happens, right? All indicators are home prices will come down. So we're going to go down 10%. Let's assume nothing changes in the rate. What's our mortgage payment? 20%? What is it?
1,088.
That's actually less, right? So now that you've shown that to your client, one of the opportunities that's probably kind of realistic, you go, yeah, that might happen. Go ahead.
So then if that were the case, I think I would probably take the scenario to the next level then and go back to their current house if they're not first-time home buyers and see what the difference in the 10% market shift ends up meaning for the equity that they're pulling out of their existing house.
Yeah, and this is where it comes back to the buyer, to the seller, right? Is remembering that we're oftentimes going to be buying in the market that we're selling in or selling in the market that we're buying in. So we got to play the scenario backwards. And how does that all work out, right? Good. Thoughts on this?
Well, I think if you can see between scenario 1 and 2, the monthly payment is $17. That really changes how someone looks at that.
Now, go ahead, Matt.
Somebody who's old and has been through a true shift. I think the important part that you're missing in that conversation is making sure you understand how long your client's going to be at that house. It's only $17 in payment, but they just lost $43,600. 10%, their equity, poof, gone. And going in, no, from that buyer's perspective, they now own a home that they put $87,200 down as 20%. And 1 year later, that home was worth 10% less. Their down payment went from 20% to now I've got a 10% equity position in this house. So that's great that my payment's only $17 different, but I lost real money. So if you were like, this is my first time home buyer house and I'm only going to be here, you have that conversation with your client, they're like, we see this as a 3 to 4 year house. The payment, you have to get them past that. That's where I think there's a big transition between if you need the sale and you need to give a sales pitch sometimes versus you want to be a real estate agent and you want to counsel your client. There's a big difference between what that conversation is.
So Matt, I'm concerned that if I buy this house, I'm going to be in for 4 years. I'm going to lose a ton of money on it. I'm paying rent right now of $1,500, $1,800. What do you advise I do?
4 years is a tough number, I would say, because in 4 years, a lot happens in the real estate market. If it drops by 10, but then we recover 3% each year, we're back to about even. You got to decide the benefits of you with home ownership and any tax implications and things like that. However, if you tell me right now, you're looking at a 3-year or less number and what we think and we can, rightly project out. If your rent is only $1,500, this might not be the right moment for you. Because at $1,500 a month, you can say that that's 100% interest, as we like to hear. You can do a lot of $1,500 a month for $43,600.
What are your thoughts?
Killing me.
Is that honest?
Yeah.
Is it accurate?
For
Do you
sure.
think Matt probably has clients that come to him in 2 or 3 years and say, hey, is the timing better?
Yes.
I agree. I mean, I think going into any home purchase with less than like a 5-year window is just really short. It is, because you need 2 years at average appreciation to cover your cost to sell that house when it comes up. So even if the market just stayed the same, you're still over those 5 years, at that rate, you might end up paying down enough principal to cover the cost of sale. But if the market actually goes down, like it could have deeper impact than that. I think that's maybe where you talk to them about their willingness to consider renting the property if in the future, if that was something that they would at least consider rather than selling.
So extend their timeline. Sometimes it's about helping them extend their timeline so it makes sense. Look, I'm not telling you not to buy right now, right? But anything under 5 years, 3 years especially, you're probably not gonna have a win out of it. It's gonna take a lot. So you have to love the house, right? It has to be about, I don't care about the money. I love this thing. It's not a financial spot. I'm gonna stay here longer. So I'm gonna extend in my timeline. As long as I extend my timeline, my losses will typically become a win the longer I extend that timeline, right?
You also touched on something very important there, Kevin, and that is that I always tell my clients, like, I probably to a fault look at your real estate purchase as a business transaction because I see real estate as a way to help you build wealth. But this is a life decision for you too. You've got your first kid coming, you've got your second kid coming, you're on top of each other, right? Like, so what I'm going to give you is some advice based on some numbers, but we got to make a decision based on life, and we know everything is subject to change. So just because we're telling them that might not be the greatest of timing, still doesn't mean it's not the right time for them. As far as that goes, there's way more than numbers that goes into buying that house.
For sure. I just think of some of those quick ones. Wait, I'm getting married. I'm having a job change. Whatever, life, it's usually life has changed, right? So now my motivation is not something just that something has changed. Carla.
So one of the things, being that I'm more new build than anything, I get cross listings and so forth. Usually we might have 3, 6, 9 months before they're in their new house, but I even do this with my prospects that I'm working on to get their listings. I'll say, let me put you on a market watch. So it's the watch that I watch. I add them to it. So over 6 months, I'm tapping into them every month, giving them an update on what their house is worth based on what's going on. So when we get to the point where we're ready to list the house, they already know that the shift has happened. They already know that, this is where we need to be strategically, and how are we going to position you in the market to sell faster than, because now they've got a house that they have built, perhaps, or even in a scenario where they're not building a house and they're just, somebody that's like, I've got 6 months before I want to sell. I might be tapping into month 2 going, we need to move. Are you ready? So, but at least they're watching the market and they're seeing everything that's going on, so that it's not a big shock to them going, huh? And then, no, I'm not going to drop my price.
I saw something I don't know, just a post on some social media piece about someone called their agent back and said, hey, my home's gone down in value. How do I, make the difference? I just bought a house last year. How do I make up the difference? Anyone have that call yet, by the way? I'm predicting those are gonna come in over the last year. Like you told me not to get an appraisal. You told me not to, I just have a feeling those are gonna start coming into the brokerage at some point. But I think there's a spot where as realtors, as soon as they sign that contract, right, we are fiduciaries to make sure at least they understand these things. Sometimes we need to understand these things as well. So I have a scenario. So as a first-time buyer moving into a market where the market's gone down a little bit, or maybe it's still coming down, there could be some issues. If I have a home, let's say that's 350, and I'm at a spot where I want to go buy now my $700,000 home, right? Is this going to be a good market for that? Is my move-up home, is this a move-up home market? Why and maybe why not? And if you've already talked, I don't care. Talk, go. So, Matt, I love having you in here, and I want to hear your opinion all the time. So,
I only come very seldom and then I talk all the time. I think that's a tough conversation to have. I think if you look at where scenario one is and you use those larger numbers, just like what Jelena said, right? Like, hey, it's going to go down. Now's the time to sell. And I think putting my doubting person or my, sophisticated client hat on, my comment likely would have said, well, if I'm a move up buyer, would have said, well, that's all true with what you just said. That $700,000 house comes down 70,000. Mine only goes down 40. This makes, let's wait. Like what you just told me to get me to go early is actually the exact argument I'm going to use to say my sophisticated mind says, I'm going to wait because I'm going to save a lot more on that upper end. And that's when then I think you have to have conversations with them about where you want to go, when you want to be there, what's the inventory at where you're going to be, and all those kind of things. So there's different conversations that leads into, but I mean, if it was me, I'd wait.
but I love it because we're probably going to do this, but as a client, I love that my realtor would call me and say, hey, you're probably seeing things about home values right now, right? And you shared with me you want to move when your kids graduate or whatever. Time is always on one side or another. This might be an opportunity that I understand prices are coming down, but if you're going to move up, this might be an opportunity for you to wait. And I want to be here and ready to walk you through that whole time. But that call could be useful to your clients right now. Hey, don't worry. Don't worry. Some things have silver linings. This might be a silver lining for you, right? Go ahead.
So maybe piggybacking off of that, when you're having that conversation, you talk to them about maybe they do intend to hang on to that other house for a while because it's probably a 2.75% interest rate or something like that. Maybe a great thing to do now, rather than purchasing that home, is to tap into the equity of the other home and open a line of credit against the other house at today's rate, and then don't use it and just wait until the market does come down 10% on the $700,000 house. Now they've got the purchase money to use in the future for that other house at the new low rate or the new low price.
If someone called you, or if you called your client and had that conversation, would that bring them value, you think? Would they be more, and it doesn't have to be your client. It's someone that's not yet your client that you just know where they're at, right? You've been checking in through COVID. You did all these reach outs. Hey, how you doing? Oh, you're playing. Oh, we're not moving for a while. Hey, great. I'm not calling to see how you're doing right now. I'm calling with this piece of information. And have you ever thought about going and pulling a line of credit out on your property so that you can go and purchase your next one?
And they don't want to do a full refi because then they screw up the rate on their existing house. But if they did a HELOC, I mean, it's kind of not used unless it's used. So
Same conversation.
what's that?
Who's getting those right now?
Credit unions? I actually have no idea.
People are giving them out, right?
Yeah, Old National.
Yeah.
On the same time as the weight conversation, I think you can flip it too. And think through your head of the buyers that this should be like, I should have gone already. Or the ones that you did get to sell this last spring that were the downsizers. I know I have one in Plymouth that he's called me twice over the summer and be like, wow, did we time that right? I'm like, and he's been in real estate for forever, farm properties, this and that. He's like, he goes, you and I both know it's just lucky, but but it did time right and they're happy about it. And so I would say right now, if you're looking for people to call, if you know anybody who's a snowbird and they leave and you're like, God, I don't know how much longer they're going to hang on to that big house up here. Now's the time for them to sell and downsize, right? And let it go, live down in Florida or Arizona for the next 5-6 months. We can have your house on the market while you're not even here. And maybe we can catch the backside of this market because inventory is still really low. So use that as a motivator to get some inventory out there, because that is the one benefit sellers still have right now. Inventory is still crazy low, and especially in a lot of niche markets.
And just have a question about, I'm seeing that inventory is really low, especially 400. It's really low, and the days on market on those are still between 11 and 13 days on market there. But in the higher price point, they're up to 26 days on market. They're a lot different. And so I'm wondering if that one is shifting faster than the lower one, would that make it a good opportunity for someone to sell a high demand property and have more negotiating? I don't know. That's where I start doing funny math.
It's 12 o'clock. Last time I went way over.
We have a question on Zoom though. Getting a HELOC on a current house, does it have to be at the current rate?
So I have to end at noon because I said I would do better at this. So we're going to end. If you're online, one of the values that's going to happen is the more you can make it in the market center, especially in this environment, the better it's going to be. When we're in here, I hope you can see the value in the team meeting is not, hopefully there's some from up front, but it's out here, right? This is where the value piece really comes in. So before we leave, no more questions, but I need 3 ahas and then we're done.
And we gotta do wants and needs.
Aha from today. I need 3 of them. Go ahead.
Really good just to go through different scenarios like this so that they can have more information at their hand.
Ask questions and let's run the numbers. Let's just see what happens if we do this. Let's see if that happens, right? So play it out. Yep. Next, another aha.
The significance of how long did they plan this? I
Yeah.
usually ask that question, but it's really critical.
The timeline. I had someone buy and sell a home in 2 years, like they had to wait so they didn't have to pay capital gains and we sold it. They made a bunch of money. Probably not happening, right? But when they bought it, I said, here's the deal. You stay 7 years, you'll probably weather most things. Less than that, you're taking on some risk. And number 3, not aha. Go ahead, Matt.
I would say the power of having a visual versus just hearing it, when you're talking to your client especially. Because like I can call and talk them through and because I've been doing it so long, it's very second nature to me, but even me just seeing that is very powerful. So if you shoot them an email and say, hey, I put together this scenario that I wanted to run over because I knew you were kind of in this situation, and they have both visual and then you verbalizing it, I think could be super powerful. And you could use it on social media too, which I'm terrible at, but a lot of you guys are way better.
All right. Thanks for the team meeting. Give yourselves a hand for now, there are wants and needs. Heather has them.
So we'll also email Lydia, but I did have one. Rama and Sherry are at Bold. They have, Wayzata, Minnetonka, Deep Haven, Long Lake Fire, Woodland, 800 to 3 million, Rambler, 1-story, single family, built 2010 plus, 2,500 to 5,000 square foot, preference 3+ garage, 3+ bedrooms on 1 level. If you have anything for them, let them know. Anybody else want the needs?
0 to infinity.
Make sure you send them to Lydia. If you do have any, she'll send out an email. Derek, did you have one?
Yeah.
You have a list of.
Nice job. That was great.
After getting math though, I'm like, I don't know if I want to pitch it anymore.
Oh, that's good.
Kevin, where did you get that 45% statistic?
I saw it.
Yeah, I mean, well,
I'm not sure. But it's accurate.
It was accurate.
Yeah. It was reputable.
Model.
Reputable social media.
What?
Let me.
So, yeah.
Yeah, if you send me the information, yeah,
Thank you.
we have.
And
Pending.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes. If you send me the information, look at it, send it to Tara.
Maybe my person will go.
You did, and we did.
Indicator.
But. Yeah.
So I've got, Kelly in all of my social media, so I didn't even know that it was.
Did you get it?
It was posted. So that's so.
It was on your.
Your jacket.
Okay. Perfect, thanks.
So, yeah, hope you have a good turnout.
You didn't get it though.
No, but it was just helpful to.
Okay. That's all right. Yeah.
He just wants.
No idea that.
No,
Oh, I have a
no.
flyer seminar this afternoon and Callie, my admin, posted the flyer for it. She's like, "Oh, you know, you have great turnout. I told her, I said, "Look, it should be you," but that's why she knows about it.
We shared that on our public one.
She told me that.
Oh.
Exciting.
Yeah, we're trying to do some more of that. To mute this.